How's that? Is that a little better? Okay. Yeah, I know sometimes it's a little difficult to hear things, but they always talk about this modern day technology, and it turns out not to be modern day.
Right, right. It doesn't fit in at all.
Well, listen, it's so really wonderful to be able to talk to you. I'm going to go ahead and do the lead in. And the thing is, you represent so much history in the area that it is just such a joy to really be able to talk to you. And we're going to cover a little bit of grounds today. And you know how it is. You can never, ever finish a chapter.
Right. That is true.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you what, let me introduce you. This is Checkpoint Productions. This is GMD, your host. I'm going to be introducing a very, very special guest. This particular person was here in history in the making. Make a long story short, I promoted a workshop back in 1980 in Cleveland, Ohio. And this particular young man was one of the most zealous and one of the most forthcoming. And not only that, followed through on wanting to know more about the people we brought into the city. We're talking about no other than the legendary great Grandmaster Guro, Dan Inosanto. Welcome to the show, Guro Freddie Thompson.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to share my life and my legacy.
Well, it's so important because, it is a part of my legacy as well, as you know. And that's what really gives me such great joy to be able to, do this candid and up-close interview with you. Let's jump right into things. So let me ask you a question. So how did you even become interested in martial arts in the first place?
That is so funny. Back in 1967, 68, I ran across a TV program called Green Hornet. He turned my life upside down. I couldn't believe it. And from Cleveland, I moved to Cleveland Heights, and I was so into martial arts. My mother put me in the judo class, and I just wanted more and more. They closed down. When I was teaching books, going to different studios, that's how I ran into Ray Such and knew about James Cook. And I just wanted to learn more and more about the machine and what he did, his ideals, his philosophy, and what he was bringing to the martial arts. Because what he showed the martial arts, dazzled me so much.
That's pretty heavy. So how old were you at the time when you first got lit up? Now, you mentioned 1967. That is definitely a turning point in the world of martial arts. I guess this is Green Hornet era, the introduction officially.
All the Kung Fu movies.
Kung Fu, there it is. So that was obviously a major turning point for you.
Yeah, and I was 7 years old in 1968. I started learning judo, and I just needed more. But my goal was to learn all I could about Bruce Lee. And the path to that Bruce Lee, it was a long journey, but it was the right journey, and I was always in the right place at the right time to meet the people that I wanted to meet.
Wow, that's exciting. Now, let me ask you another question, because you already mentioned one of your archetypes. Who else inspired you in the world of martial arts? Who are some of your persons that you stand upon the shoulders of?
Well, after I started training martial arts when I was a little kid, I moved to Euclid in 1976. So from 8 years old, 1968 to 1976, I was in and out of martial arts studios trying to learn it from Moon Kubek, Ohio Black Belt Academy, different studios. But when I moved to Euclid, I started training at Tracy's Karate Studio. I did not know Tracy's Karate Studio was going to lead me to the path of Bruce Lee. That blew me away. But I didn't know it until I met Dan Parker.
that's pretty heavy. So now, when you talk about Tracy Karate Kung Fu, now the Tracy brothers, they're very legendary within their own rights, and they had a legendary instructor. Now, where are their roots?
Yeah, the Tracy brothers, they trained under Ed Parker during the time of Bruce Lee.
Okay.
Dan Inosanto was a student of Ed Parker.
I see.
And we hear this is the thing that went through how I came across Dan Inosanto, because when I first met Ed Parker, he never mentioned Dan Inosanto. He just said, I'm the guy who discovered Bruce Lee. I'm the guy who trained Elvis Presley as a personal trainer bodyguard. And he looked at us and go, oh, I see you guys are Tracy, man.
Yes.
And I made that did go, I'm Tracy, Jim Tracy, welcome to. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. So I knew I was on the right path to find out more about Bruce Lee.
Yes.
And this is 1977, 78, 79, and then 1980, that's when you did your thing. But here's the craziest thing. I thought I was right at the mecca until you came in 1980, started showing us about Bruce Lee's number one student. I never even knew Bruce Lee had a number one student. And when I met him, oh my God, my eyes just lit up. It was awesome to see this man who touched the hand of Bruce Lee and worked out with him personally. But here's the funniest thing is,
Yes.
at your seminar, after he did his introduction, everybody did their little demos, Dan Inosanto, Guro Inosanto walked around to meet everybody.
Yes.
So when he saw us, he said exactly what Ed Parker said. Oh, I see you're Tracy, man. And we was like, yeah. He said, well, I was Ed Parker's student. Ed Parker's the one who gave me Bruce Lee to show around L.A. I damn near told him about.
That's very heavy.
You know, Ed Parker. Yeah, Ed Parker is the one who told me to go into the Filipino martial arts so I can learn my own heritage martial arts. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Yes.
And so we were talking, and then I asked him, I said, do you mind if I take an action shot with you? He said, well, I don't know what you mean. I said, I'm going to kick at you, and you do whatever you want to me. And I threw a kick at him, and he posed right in there. I don't know, a year later, what he did to me. He messed me up shit there. It was so, I felt embarrassed even raising my leg at him. But at the time, I thought it was the cutest thing I ever did. I'm kicking Bruce Lee's number one student with a roundhouse.
Yes. Now, you mentioned a key word a little earlier, the path. It said you are already on a path, but I guess this monumental juncture point event, which hosted actually, Grandmaster Guru Dan Inosanto, but also the late legendary great Grandmaster Richard Bastillo. What are your experiences with him?
Oh my God. As I'm training, going back and forth to California to train with Guro Inosanto, because in 1980, I met him in Cleveland. 1981, I went to California. Dan Inosanto was making Sharky's machine with Burt Reynolds, and so he was going from the movie set to do our 3-day seminar for 50 hours. So we did 50 hours, 3 days of Gun Fan, Gun Fu, the Filipino martial arts. Richard Bastillo, at that time, was Guro Inosanto's protege. He was literally second under Guru. And so that's how I got familiar with Richard. And Richard and Guru, they had the same concept, but they had their own different flavor. So I was trying to pick up each one of their different flavors. But at the same time, the most important thing was to listen. Of course, they're going to show us a whole bunch of stuff, and it's going to dazzle you. But if you listen, it would dazzle you even more from what they were saying and where the martial arts could go.